Hello, this is Darius, and welcome to Moonlife Astro. If you're new and if you're returning, welcome back. Today, we're just getting into the astrology for the upcoming week. Then we don't have too much going on, actually, this week from the 9th through the 16th. We basically just have the full moon, which will be on July 10th. I posted a video on that yesterday. And then we also have on the 11th, the sun will trine the North Node, and then Uranus will turn retrograde July 13th. And then I'll probably touch a little bit on the upcoming Mercury retrograde, which will actually be happening on July 18th. But before I get into that, just going to ask you real quick to like the video. If you get value from this channel, please do subscribe. It does help me get the message out to more people. And with that, let's just get into it. This Capricorn full moon on July 10th, it's going to be exact at 4:36 p.m. Eastern. It's a good full moon to help generate some clarity around your ideas around success, structure, and responsibility. The sun trining the North Node, this could create the energy for some aligned opportunities to come to the surface. And then Saturn goes retrograde every year for about 5 months. And it's a great time to look at your long-term planning, basically how you work. And I like to use the Saturn retrograde to reevaluate my whole relationship to work. But I'll talk more about that in detail when we get to it. Like I said, I do have a longer video on the July 10th full moon in Capricorn. But basically, full moons are always about culminations or releases. The intentions you set 6 months ago could possibly be coming to fruition now around this time in these 6 months. So you can look back to February, look at the intentions you set then, and see what's happened with those right now, or what's happening around those intentions around this full moon. It does oppose the Cancer and Sun, so this could be bringing up any areas where you're still not feeling emotionally nourished or fulfilled. Or maybe if you have a dynamic where you're struggling with emotional nourishment versus external achievement. For solopreneurs, this full moon could be a great opportunity to once again look at your relationship to hustle, productivity, grind culture, and any control issues that brings up in you. It's also an excellent time to reevaluate your current goals and where you are on track at this point in the year and what needs to be updated or revised. And this full moon in Capricorn is also an invitation to let go of any ideas or versions of success that make you feel trapped or stifled or limit your ability to express who you are authentically. July 11th, we have the sun trining the North Node. The North Node is often thought of as the node of fate, our soul's purpose, where we're going, what we want to accomplish in this lifetime. When you have the sun in Cancer trining the North Node currently in Pisces, this could create a smooth flow between your identity, how you see yourself, and your destiny. This could actually be a really beautiful energy for noticing who or what is aligned with your higher path, your mission, your purpose. And you might also feel validated in a very quiet, simple inner knowing. Could be a great day to use this energy for heart-centered visibility, any soul-aligned decisions, or even just taking an intuitive next step towards your big vision. And then July 13th, Saturn is going to retrograde. And it'll be retrograde from July 13th until November 27th. So for about 5 months. Saturn can equal our discipline, structure, our mastery over it. It's our relationship to time. I like Saturn because it helps us create a foundation and a form for our manifestations, what we want to create, what we want to bring into the world. And I like to use a Saturn retrograde in particular to look at my relationship to work. Am I using work to be my identity? Who am I outside of my work? Who am I outside of my purpose or vision? I think especially for solopreneurs, creative visionaries like ourselves, too often what we do in the world can often get conflated to being who we are. And I think it's important to remind ourselves that who we are is our essence, our soul, our energy. what we bring to our lives, our manifestations, and the relationships that we cultivate. So it's a good time, I believe, a Saturn retrograde to work on that inner essence, our knowing, our sense of self, and what gives us pleasure. And, how is our purpose and our work an expression of our joy or pleasure? And also, when do we give ourselves breaks from producing, from being out in the world? And are we able to enjoy that downtime? Is there a way to still be productive and then to actually be relaxed when we're not productive? I think Saturn retrogrades can bring those conflicts or those challenges to the surface so that you can work on them, so that you can heal them. Especially since in the beginning of it, it's going to be retrograding in Aries, which can really be about our self-leadership, our courage, what we initiate. Then in September, it's going to be in Pisces. And then this will also be happening around the same time that Neptune will also retrograde back into Pisces. And I think I'm going to do a separate video on that, maybe towards the end of the month about that, but just to give you a heads up around that. But in a nutshell, since we have Saturn going retrograde at the beginning of it in Aries, it's another invitation to really, like I said, look at how we see ourselves in relationships to our work, our vision, our purpose. And it's an invitation to pause and reevaluate those things. Are you building your business on a sustainable foundation? Is the drive coming from your ego or your soul's purpose? These are things to consider. It's also an excellent time to revise systems, timelines, and in commitments. Excellent time to revisit those Q3 goals and to look at your pace. What do you really still want to commit to bringing to the surface for into manifestation over the next couple of quarters, and what needs to be pared down or simply eliminated. And now it's kind of interesting that this Saturn retrograde is going to be coming on the heels of a full moon and around the same time that the North Node is going to be trining Saturn as well. So all of these transits together, it's basically the energy saying this is a great time to really be honest and to get grounded. Really look at where you are aligned with your truth and where are you not. And what do you want to do about that? How do you want to meet that? In a nutshell, it's another opportunity to look at how your productivity can meet your purpose. And so what might come to the surface this week, you might have some revelations around things that no longer feel like they're aligned with what you want to do. Maybe you feel like there are certain clients you no longer want to work with or serve, or maybe there are new clients that you want to reach out to. You could also look and see if there's any outdated branding or marketing strategies that you have. And again, another opportunity to do some shadow work around being visible, being seen in the world. And how is that impacting how you show up for your business, your mission, your purpose? In a nutshell, this is not a time to launch anything big. It's basically a time to refine what's already in motion and to tweak it. This can be powerful as well for restructuring offers and upgrading any content calendars, or also simplifying your workflows. And that's something you can do throughout all of the Saturn retrograde as well. So these are things to think about. Like I said, there's not too much going on this week. I hope things are going well for you. I myself have been kind of energetically up and down the last few days. I'm filming this right after Uranus went into Gemini. And so it's possible that pulled more energy from me than I expected. I'm not sure if you had a similar experience as well. Feel free to put that down in the comments below. If you feel like you kind of ping pong between having a lot of energy and then also feeling like you suddenly need to collapse. I feel like the last couple of days have kind of been those energetic highs and lows for me. And I'm curious if other people have experienced this transition this week as well in that way. But at the end of the day, I think a Saturn retrograde in particular is really helpful, really useful, can really serve us well. I know a lot of times a lot of people have a hard time with Saturn retrogrades. um, because it is about our relationship to time and our ability to create boundaries or limits. And so, if you struggle with that, Saturn retrograde is going to bring that to the surface. And so, again, if you have challenges in those areas, reach out to the support team that you have, the network that you have, the communities that can help you. The shadow workers, the therapists, the energy healers, the spiritual communities that you go to, the yoga, the meditation. This is the time to definitely lean on those tools if you do have really difficult challenges during Saturn retrogrades in particular, or at any time, really. Again, it's just a reminder to continue to do that work. I feel like so much of the astrology for 2025 is really inviting us to do that work on an individual level so that we can begin to heal a collective level in a community sense, and to continue to grow as a community and to create community if you don't have that as well, whether it's online or in real life. Ideally, both. I feel I thrive when I have a combination of online communities that I can rely on and also people I can meet with in real life. And so I've been really committed to that the last year. And I'm so glad I made that commitment because it's made it so much easier for me to get through the difficult times as they arise. And just looking at the astrology for the rest of the year and next year, I was telling another friend, I think maybe last week, that in a lot of ways, we're still going to be on the roller coaster. You know, we're going through really transformative times individually and collectively. And so we need to actually take care of ourselves so that we can meet this moment. And so we can really consciously decide, who do we want to be as we transform? How do we want to show up for ourselves and others as we go through this change, as society changes, as the world evolves? And I do feel like anyone who's drawn to any of this spiritual world, astrology, Reiki, energy healing, life coaching, any of these creative fields or other spiritual entrepreneurs. And that's one of the reasons why we're all doing this work, is we want to help bring this change in a way that is as loving as possible, and to help remind us that at the end of the day, it really is all about being in a space of love and to serve humanity for its greatest good. I really do believe in these dark and challenging times that we are going to bring more light to the world. And so I'm just encouraging you to do what you need to do in order to be one of those people who can be of service in that way. And I think that's a good place to end. And again, keeping it short, but I hope all is well. Take care of yourself. Wishing you much love, joy, and peace. Sending you lots of love, joy, and peace. Easefully yours, Darius.